Hello, my name is Swanö, and I sit here today to talk to you about Crimson 2. In many ways, the strange Edge of Sanity album that was more of a product of label politics than it was about me wanting to do an Edge of Sanity album on my own. Well, let's face it, I was trying to take over the band, and I got kicked out instead, which is a whole other story, of course. But it ended up with me not being Edge of Sanity anymore, and the other guys were the Edge of Sanity that was around. And I made my Moontower album, and all was fine with that. But when it came to doing a follow-up to Moontower, I started dabbling with it, and I got some really cool stuff together. And I was having a conversation with Boss at Blackmark, and he told me that Edge of Sanity wasn't selling so much, the Cryptic album wasn't doing the numbers that he had hoped for, and at this time also Edge of Sanity was over as a band, so it had all kind of somehow ended up a little bit on the minus side. And as a businessman, he was interested in getting the back catalog to sell and for something to happen with the brand name Edge of Sanity. And when I told him about my wishes to do another solo album under my own name, he just kind of told me that he would pay me 10 times more if I called the album Edge of Sanity. And I thought, wow, I'm in a big financial situation here and I could really use the money, but what would the other guys say? That would be super weird. But first there was this idea. There was this one guy who contacted me over the internet and said, I would like for you to make Crimson 2 only for me, and I would pay you X amount of money. And like I said, I needed money at the time, and I thought, oh, I would do it just like Jean-Michel Jarre did one album in one copy for one museum or whatever. I would do this one album for this guy as long as he paid me. That was kind of desperate times. And it never really happened, but the idea of Crimson 2 was born. So when Boss asked if I was willing to release it as Edge of Sanity, and I told him, if it's okay with the other guys, I will do it, and it will be Crimson 2. And he was like, oh, that's super, we will get it. So me and Boss met up with 3 of the other guys in Finspång on Kristi Himmelfärd in 2003. And had one of the more awkward meetings of my life. Me and Boss on one side and the other guys that was still technically Edge of Sanity on the other, and Boss did his whole sales pitch about why and this and that and blah blah blah, and I just felt so stupid. But in the end they agreed, thankfully, and I made Crimson 2, and I love the album. I think it's a fantastic piece of music. I'm not so sure if it's an Edge of Sanity album, and if it's rivaling Crimson, I do not know. But I find that every piece on this album was or is something I'm extremely proud of musically. I'm just not so happy with the way that it was all put together, because it was all made in a computer with a metronome. So every thing have a tempo, and then you need, oh, this is 140, now this is 150. How do we go from this riff to this riff without it sounding strange, like just this jump? So I had to do all these little interludes or gradually raise the tempo, because face it, it was ideas I was going to use for what never became Moontower 2. And some new stuff, and also some old riffs from Crimson 1, or Crimson, whatever you want to call it. And I tried to piece it all together, and it was all done in a pretty fast tempo compared to how I do things these days. And yeah, I would say that there are some extremely good moments on Crimson 2. My favorite part is probably the first, I don't know for how long it goes on, a couple of minutes from the intro, which I find is super nice, and a really cool keyboard tone. And then you go into a riff that was actually one part of the song Uncreation, which, yeah, it got cut out of the version when I made Moontower and decided to not be so death metal at all. All the fast bits were cut out, and that was one of the best fast riffs that I ever wrote. So at the time when I thought I could make an Edge of Sanity album all by myself after Infernal. That was the song I wrote, but then I got, fired from the band, and I decided to make a death metal album on my own, under my own name. But that never happened. But that song, which you can find as a bonus material on the Moon Tower reissue CD, that thing just kind of felt, now this is the time to use this opening riff, because it was the opening riff also on Creation in the death metal version. And after that, it's going into a little bit of the old Crimson stuff, and it's really, I think that the first section, and I know that there is all these names of the various songs, they are called Face to Face and whatever, but honestly that is one of the things I do not like about Crimson 2, that I was forced into the fact that, I was forced to name the parts. It is one song, like Crimson. But because an incident where Crimson ended up in the EP or singles departments in the record shop, Black Mark pretty much forbid me to release it unless it had 10 songs on the back cover. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna give you songs. So I split it up into 44 parts across, so you could easily skip to your favorite bit with your CD player. And for me, it's one song. There is no skipping, there is no section this, call that. But it is what it is. People got used to it, and they talk about some section. I think, what do you mean? Oh, that part of Crimson 2, okay. And there are many extremely memorable moments. And so all in all, I think Crimson 2 is really a cool album. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It's I would not really see that it is an Edge of Sanity album, but you now know a little bit more behind it.